Okay, so today I'm going to share with you my art journey. My art journey has ups and downs, but today I'm going to focus on sharing with you how I've used technology and social media to sustain my interest in drawing, and also how I infuse art into my daily life. So first of all, I will share a bit about myself, that I am a lefty, but actually I can also draw with my right hand, just that anything that I draw with my right hand will be abstract art, if you know what I mean. And 3/4 of my family likes to draw. My mom, my older brother, and myself. And when I was young, I saw this very beautiful drawing. To me, it was the most beautiful drawing that I ever seen. And it is drawn by my mom. And she also drew a dragon on the wall, which was featured in the Chinese newspaper. So at that time, I told myself, okay, one day I would want to draw like her. She's my inspiration. So I am an introvert. I like to draw alone at home. And usually I only share my drawing with my brother and my mom. But whenever there's an opportunity in school, I will always try to draw. So you can see that all my projects have my drawings in it. And my drawing style is very largely influenced by Japanese manga, and especially Dragon Ball. And I draw a lot of Dragon Ball to the extent that I even drew spin-offs, comics on Dragon Ball. And I drew about 4 to 5 books when I was in secondary school. And I like to draw when I am happy, sad, or angry. So basically, I draw to express my emotions. So when I was in secondary school, I had a brilliant idea. I told myself I will write my diary in the form of comics. And I did that for years. And then it turned out to be quite a silly idea. Because if I have 1 day worth of diary to draw, I would take about 3 to 4 days to complete. So I could never keep up with what I wanted to draw. So I decided to give it a stop. In my JC days, I started to draw something more serious, and I started to draw human portraits. And at that time, I began to draw as regular as every day. And it became an obsession to the point that I even draw secretly during lectures and during tutorials. And what happened is that as I draw more and more, I became more and more introverted. I felt like this is like a black hole that is sucking me into it. And the more I draw, the more depressed and empty I felt. So in my army days, I actually stopped drawing. And in fact, finding a girlfriend was a top priority at that time, so it was a distraction. And then the breakthrough, this is what I would call the breakthrough, came when I started working. And when I started working, because I'm a physics teacher, I was issued with a tablet that has this Wacom pen and paper capability. And for the first time, I could draw using the stylus on the screen. And before that, okay, just to give you some idea, before that I already have been doing a lot of artwork using Photoshop. But the thing is, I'm a lefty, but I use my right hand to control the mouse. So whatever things I draw digitally is all abstract. So with this tablet, I realized that for the first time, I can draw very accurately on it. And this is the first digital artwork that I did using a stylus. And it was quite encouraging for me. I started to draw again. I started to draw, and very shortly, I got discouraged. Because I realized that due to the limitation of the tablet, or actually it's myself, that I couldn't draw human portraits very well. Okay? It always has this digital feeling. Yeah, I'm sure you can agree with me that it has this very digital feeling that I cannot overcome. And I started to draw lesser and lesser and lesser until 2010. Okay, I would call this the second breakthrough came. iPad was invented. And my brother urged me to buy an iPad to draw because he has been doing it. So I bought an iPad, and at that time there wasn't Apple Pencil, so I started off drawing using my finger, and the result was very good. Okay, let me share with you some of the drawings that I've done over the years. And as I draw, I learn, I develop techniques that allow me to draw faster, and my favorite drawing is black and white human portraits. Yeah, so at that time, I started to open up. I told myself that I want to open up, and with the emergence of social media, I joined Facebook art groups, and I followed Instagram pages, and that was a time that, for the first time, I felt so liberating. I could share my artwork to people around the world without the fear of being judged as being proud. In fact, there are so many talented artists out there that I felt so humbled, and I felt that there's so many things I need to learn. I was very inspired and motivated to draw more and more. But at that time, okay, because at that time I also learned that drawing digital human portraits are not very well received. And people will be very skeptical and insist that I use Photoshop to Photoshop my drawings. So I grew smarter. I started to document my process. So every half an hour, I'll take a screenshot and I'll show them, okay, that this is how I drew my drawing. And this is for Iron Patriot. And this is War Machine. I took about 35 hours to draw. And I also told myself that I have been doing this alone at home. I want to make a conscious effort to open up. So I decided that since iPad is a very portable device, I started to bring it out to draw in the library, in cafes, and fast food. So at least I ensure that there are people around me when I draw. I'm not so sucked into my own world. And then along the way, there are surprises and encouragements. In 2013, there was this first mobile art exhibition in US. So they called for artists all over the world to submit their mobile art. And I was fortunate enough to be one of the top 50 artists to be selected. You can see my name below, and actually my brother's name is also there. So there are 2 Singaporeans who were selected for this. And in the subsequent year, by the way, my artwork was this Mark 42 Iron Man. And in the subsequent year, I also got selected, and this time was a drawing based on a photo taken by my ex-student. I was also featured occasionally by the app that I'm using on Facebook, and Paka Blog actually picked up my drawing also, and I also randomly take part in some competitions as and when it applies to my style. So I drew this Superman versus Batman concept art, and I was selected, and it was exhibited in Raffles City. So my journey doesn't end here. In fact, it just started, and I told myself, for the longest time, I have been drawing for myself and for the people close to me. I told myself that I need to open up. I need to make art into my life. And I started consciously infusing art into my daily life. I want more people to benefit from my artworks. So one of the things I did was at work, and whenever there's a topic that I need to lecture, I will create a gryphon with the superpower related to the topic. And then for my graduating classes, I draw as a farewell gift. Then in my committee, I drew the Griffles, our mascot, and also some events. This one is a staff day, and this is the upcoming Teachers' Day celebration for the teachers. So, of course, I do not want to shortchange my family. I use drawing as a form of expressing my love for my family. My 2 girls and my wife is here today, and I like to draw for people that I love. My children like to draw, and when they were very young, I got them to draw this. I told them to draw a story about themselves, and together we created a storybook based on this. Then one day, I looked at the cloud. I looked at the sky, and I saw this cloud. What do you see? I saw BFG, Big Friendly Giant. So I posted this on Facebook, and it was very well received. And people started to comment, and then I got very inspired and motivated. I started to do more and more cloud drawings. And then when I do more and more cloud drawings, more of my friends started sending me clouds, and they asked me to draw for them. And it became a kind of movement in that way. And then my friend, who is a teacher in secondary school, also picked up this thing, and she was inspired. She told her school, and they had a creative movement for one day, and they did, these are the cloud drawings done by her students. And Storm also picked up my drawings and featured some of my drawings. Sometimes I draw when I want to convey a certain message or to bring out certain meaning. So these are done when opportunities arises. There was one day, a lady from US asked me to draw for her daughter who has passed away. And this actually started what I would call healing art. And over the last few years, I've drawn for a few people whose loved ones have passed away. Okay, my journey doesn't end here. I told myself that I want to keep learning and growing. So I want to constantly challenge myself to do more types of art. And one of the things that I did is that I set myself checklists every year, things that I want to do every year. So let me just very quickly share with you some of the things I did over the last few years. Okay, this is one of the live portrait drawing session that I ran. It was very intense, but it was very fun. And then I did pen art. And then one day my girls pestered me to draw on their white shirts. So I started drawing on shirts. And then sometimes I do light-hearted drawings, watercolor, structures, animals, Nagomi art. Oh, this one I got to know through the art group. And together with a few very talented artists, I had the opportunity to draw at Scape for National Day a few years back. Watercolor pencils. This is another thing that was very exciting. I got to do live sand art performances. And I learned a lot from there because it actually helped me to see drawing in a very different way, in a more performance kind of way. And it was very, very fun. And I do cherish the opportunity to be able to do sand art. And what I learned in sand art, I decided to bring over to do storytelling using the time-lapse video function of the art app that I'm using in iPad. I drew on my guitars. I use Copic markers. Basically, Copic markers are expensive highlighters with a brush tips. And currently, I'm working on canvas shoes. It's still work in progress. You can see that it's not 100% completed yet. So, although I try to infuse art into my daily life, I also tell myself that I want to constantly re-challenge what I've drawn and see whether there's improvement. So this is a picture of what I've drawn. On the left is a picture that I've drawn in secondary 2. And nearly 20 years later, I decided to draw again in pencil. And then a few days later, I was not satisfied. I drew on iPad. I'm not sure whether you know this actress. At that time, during my JC day, there was this very famous movie called Romeo and Juliet, and I really love this actress. So in 1997, I drew her, and about 10 years later, I drew her again, and 5 years later, I decided to draw her again on iPad. To end off, I'm going to share with you the very first human portrait that I ever drawn. I drew this in about, I think, Sec 2. And I'm sure a lot of you will not know who this person is or which reference that I take from. And after I completed this, I remembered that I was very disgusted with my own drawing. I was very discouraged. I told myself, I will never draw human portraits again. But I'm glad I didn't give up. Nearly 20 years later, I took up the challenge to redraw this picture again. And it's quite satisfying. Okay, so I hope what I've shared will inspire you. Whatever interest you have, keep pursuing it. Treat it like a life journey. Okay, and I'm sure you'll get to see the rewards and the results. That's the end of my sharing. Thank you.